We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. I know y'all tired of it, but we got a new season of The Past. Welcome to season 8, the Mamba Year. Podcast available on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all of your podcast platforms. Here you'll get a dose of content related to tech, the productivity world, and most importantly, how to be a better you. The theme for this year, personally, is receiving grace. And we definitely want to do better with receiving it and being open to being a better us from who we were a year ago. So this is season 8 of The Past, and I hope you all enjoy. So when I would not be back to home field advantage, but we're back. And I've noticed now, especially with doing these walks, the way you know the way you know that a walkcast is starting is when you hear the gate. Happy Wednesday. Wishing you all a good midweek flow. Shared it with a couple of people. The shows will have a little bit of a delay in upload based on space and content over consumption, I guess. I don't know how to put that, but basically and yeah, y'all know y'all family, so I always like to tell y'all the real, when even if you don't need the real. Um, the shows will still, like my shows are being done every 2 weeks or every other week, basically, for the weekly shows. They're now bi-weekly. But to add to that, I'm also doing a walkcast just about every week. So if you look at the length of time between those 3 episodes, then you're kind of gonna have quite a bit of content that can be shared or talked about. Case in point, when the 1.5 hour full shows are going up, it's almost like you're getting quite a bit of listening. And for some people, it might be good. For some people, it might be bad. But to add to that, I use this example all the time. There are a lot of podcasts that go 3 hours, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I'm, I commend like shows like Joe Budden, uh, Drink Champs. There's a lot of shows I see that go like that go. So much so that I'd be like, I don't see me recording that long. I got a good hour max. If it goes past the hour, it's because there was a lot that I did not talk about in that time frame of being off. So just wanted to throw that out there. But this walk, as I was getting prepared, I have a message. And I actually have a message. So this one might take up a good amount of your time and may be able to give you something to not just walk away with, but most importantly, reflect upon and think about in just your day to day activities. So there's a YouTube streamer or YouTube page that I watch of a kid named Not So Air Jordan. And on his channel, they he has the AAU team that he calls Gremlin Gang. Great group, good group of kids. And they play in these different basketball AAU tournaments. He's kind of doing a similar concept that Cam Wilder does, where he's having, some of the top
of potential like high to low recruits. Some of the recruits that are on the list you have not even seen nor heard of, but they've been on the team or they've been like playing ball at a very good level for the most part. Well, they played through some games. It was a pretty long video, but it's worth the watch, and you'll understand why in a minute. But they were going through the matches, playing against different teams. Some games were little rough, but they were getting their wins where they mattered most. They run into this team where Kurt Thomas's son played for the team. Now, to give you a little bit of context, because a lot of my OGs are gonna know who Kurt Thomas is. A lot of others may not. Kurt Thomas played 18 years in the league. Kurt Thomas was the definition of both a bucket getter and a role player. You saw number 40, you knew what type of time he was on. He played college ball at TCU, and he was very resourceful in his game. Now, a lot of times, some players who have played in the league, their kids decide to play ball. This kid wasn't the best player, but he was a good fulfillment of his role on the team. And this is, again, going to be important in the story. So, like I said, they're playing different teams. They're in the pregame talk or pregame discussion with the team that Kurt Thomas's son is on. And Kurt Thomas is talking to one of the kids that plays for Gremlin University or whatever. And he told him in advance, he was like, look, we're going to blow y'all out. We're going to beat y'all. And Gremlin U did not really come to play their best game. They had a few snags, a few bumps. They were not on par with how a lot of their other games looked. So they ended up losing to them the first time on day one. Fast forward to day two, they know the plan. They got to come in, they got to beat two teams to eventually possibly play Kurt Thomas's team again. And again, Kurt Thomas isn't even a coach of the team. He's just a fan watching his son play. So fast forward a little bit. They play each team. They play the first team, beat them by a pretty decent amount. Play the second team, beat them by had a pretty sizable lead on them. And they knew coming into this game with Kurt Thomas' team, son's team, that they had to play on all cylinders. I remember what I said. It wasn't Kurt Thomas' son that was the issue. They had other kids on that team that just knew how to fulfill a job, which any of my friends who've heard me talk about this with basketball, there's not much that really changes with basketball other than get the ball, get the bucket. Get the ball, get the bucket. Get the ball, get the bucket. That's why the famous phrase of Michael Beasley, do it again, sticks. That makes nothing but perfect sense because, okay, cool, you got a bucket. Now do it again. Do it again. So they play this team. And like I said, these guys, I think they took them lightly. I don't know if they just didn't have that it factor. But there was one point where Gremlin U was down at 25. They would get within 11, but as we all know, even if you don't watch basketball is a game of runs. And so the other team, they'll get close, and then they'll widen the gap, widen the lead. Why I'm telling you all this story, as you're about 9 minutes, almost 10 minutes in, is near the end of the game, the coach, not Sawyer Jordan of from the U, talks to the commissioner slash the owner of this AAU league, and he says, "What's some advice that you can give me regarding, this game or just the overall play?" And he was honest with him. He said, "One thing you got to understand is that everybody don't show up the same way every day." And that was a word. Why was that a word, Brian? Why did that hit and why did that resonate? Because there are some days that you are going to go to work or you're going to interact with family or you're going to interact with friends and you are the most pleasant, peaceful, happy, enjoyable, positive person on earth. And people will love you for that and they will cherish you for it. You will be the friend or the family member or the coworker that everyone confides in. And then you gonna have those days where you just genuinely outright do not feel like being bothered. Which happens. It happens to the best of us. We're human. We're human and or we're creatures of habit. So referencing that, and again referencing to the initial story and the message I got between last night and this morning is many times our representative is not going to be the same of who we are. When we show up, we gonna show up. We trying to make it happen. We trying to be the best version of who we are. We're trying to be 100% available to everyone in our lives. But we're human. We're gonna have those bad representative days. As a gym goer for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, there are days that Brian shows up, and there are days his representative shows up. Now, don't get me wrong. The representative gonna go up there. He gonna do the workouts and be ready. But then Brian gotta show up and realize why Brian is doing this stuff. So I'm giving you all this gem and I'm giving you this message today. And I'm realizing this too. You all will still get, like I said, I'll do the walk cast as necessary. But where I go to do my track, when I'm actually like on an actual track, I won't do them there. Only because I've found that to be my personal sanctuary slash therapy. Plus, I'm not sure when, but a lot of people have talked to me or reached out and asking like they want to join. Hey, let's find a spot and do a walk. And I'm not in ownership of these walks. These walks own me. Like even Saturday, I'm really thinking about changing up the location of the walk because it's a park near me that I've been to plenty of times, but not really took time to think of like, hey, maybe I should like go over here, walk this trail. It's an open trail. It's not like like as they call it, hilly, a lot of bumps, but it's a good little place to kind of get the body moving. We'll see who shows up, whether it's Brian who's like, hey, we we just gonna give it a go, let's try something different, or if his representative is like, look, we good. Let's at least get over here to this track. And there's the other version of us that sometimes is like, you know what, I don't want to do nothing. And you can't do nothing and expect results. And I'm seeing that more and more on a personal level outside of working out, outside of um, my job, outside of friendships, the whole nine. And it's been a a sight to see, to say the least. Like even in the wellness and the health journey and the movement and things of that nature, the biggest hit and the biggest like aha moment that I began to have is I'm not as with this. I'm not as intense with doing things that I know are not going to help what I've worked on. Meaning, if I know I've just done a good workout, I'm not gonna be like, you know what? Let me go blow this, blow off all this work that I just did to like get my body back in shape and go get drunk or go eat like I have never had food before. Um, the other element that I'm gonna talk about, but I'm not gonna talk about, but you'll understand why, is this is one of the few podcasts that I'm gonna be a little intimate with y'all and a little real and sharing like I promise I'm good, but deep down, your boy's battling. And I'm battling only because there's so many walls around me that just feel like they're caving. And deep down, they're really not caving. It's just things are adjusting and you're having to realize like it's time for me to adjust. Even if I'm not in the mood, in the space, in the mindset to adjust, I gotta adjust. There's been some realities of revelations or rev- rev- realities of revelations that I began to have. And I probably said that the first time, but my brain was like, I don't know if that's what you said. That was a representative, by the way. But on the real, I'm truly in a space where I'm back to bringing things back to like trying to center myself with like with life, with my routine, with the world, with everything. And I've even gone as far as saying, and it's funny because yesterday, for the last few days, I had ordered this compass from eBay. Now, as the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. So it wasn't the most expensive one. I won't even. I ain't even say expensive. It really didn't have a large price tag to it. It was like $2 or $3, and I got it because sometimes from time to time you want to think of like, hey, let me pull this out, sit this down, and see where North is located. And at times in our personal lives, and I may need to go back and re-listen to this show from Mel Robbins about your North Star. What's your North Star? What's your why? What's your intention? Um, even down to, and I want to share this with two people. I'm not sharing this with a lot of people because I'm still in my whole like thought process within myself. But I have a possible idea that I want to try out um, here locally. That's all I'm gonna tell y'all. And then y'all will be third. If people listen, folks who listen to the show, they'll be like, "Oh, you got something in the works." And I could easily give the information because this is kind of like an exclusive haven, but I have some personal brain dumping to work on with this before I just throw it out there and make it shape. So that's what's been going on there. Do I want to make this a 40+ minute recording? Eh, probably. I've had to sit on a random whim and really think about the fact that regardless of what goes on, I get these done weekly. And I don't remember, well, no, I'm wrong. Wednesday, I did my walk like I'm doing now. And I realized like I pretty much used like the full window to do the walk, which is fine. I mean, that's the purpose of it. That's the reason. Um, but it's when it all resonates and when it all comes to a head where you're like, oh, so this is how we do it. um, just kind of being patient, staying positive, staying focused, and really like the biggest thing. I'm only gonna do half. I'm not gonna do a full 40 with you all, but be aware of your tribe. So it's kind of gonna ease out of. I said 20, but find your tribe and be aware of what your tribe looks like. Your tribe ain't gonna look like somebody else's tribe, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we look at like what others got going on, and we're like, oh, they're doing this, they got this going on in their life. Everything seems to be going well, but the reality is we all got our own thing. As I just seen someone else do, I'm gonna finish this up here. We'll get some running going. So it's gonna be a few sprint phases in here. So I don't want y'all to hear me running and panting and all that craziness. But appreciate y'all. I love y'all. I'm proud of you. Be aware of your representative. Be aware of what you and do your reflections. Do your reflections and manage your inventory. But on that note, this is BC signing out. I'll catch you on the next one.
Truly hope you all enjoyed the show. Definitely was a lot to unpack, but I know you'll walk away with something important. As I share at the end of each season, do find your way to get into podcasting if it's something you would like to do. My podcasts are currently recorded via Buzzsprout. Been very good to me. If you want to learn more about using them, definitely hit me up at thepastbtpod@gmail.com. And also the microphone that you're hearing me on is the Blue Yeti X. Have been rolling with it for over 3 years. We've been doing this ride for quite some time, so I hope someone could find this mic useful. Again, find those people who are good or helpful in what you're trying to do to be better today than you were yesterday. The primary goal is to be 1% better. Hope you all have an amazing day, and we'll be back again to do this next time.